Alright guys, Austin Blankenship, Rack City MTG, coming at you with a different video. It's the first time that I've really stepped outside of the box of what I would consider the traditional 8-rack shell on this channel. So I'm hoping that you all like this content because honestly, if I'm not playing rack in a meta, then I don't have a whole lot of content to provide for you guys. But this deck, I would say that it's close enough. You could call it one rack. Really, it's just mono black mid range, and the idea is to run cards that are good against a wide scope of the meta. Um, I've been calling it meta fighting black. As you can see, we're still running the Urza Saga package. I'm not entirely convinced that this is perfect, but I do like that Urza Saga specifically plays well with one of the things I like about this deck, and that's for main deck Relic of Progenitus. They're really there right now. There are three archetypes, and just being honest, the reason why I'm playing this deck is because right now on the Magic Online meta, and I don't think this will be a permanent thing. I think it's just because of the new toys that have come out with Dominaria. I have never seen a meta so hostile to A-Rack. The last video I tried to record, I actually went 1-4, and I don't think I've gone 1-4 playing 8-Rack. Maybe ever playing like 8-Rack on MTGO. I mean, that might have been the first time ever. And I might have had like one or two bad plays at different points, but I don't think I made anything plays that would have made any difference on whether or not I was 1-4. Um, just the three decks that really, personally, I've struggled with a lot with the shell that I was playing was um, decks like Living End, and of course four color control, and then the big one recently that's the trifecta of the three is goblins. So I I figured there's no need in me burning tickets and you all not getting any content. Let me try to experiment and try a different uh, deck instead of what I was running, just for the sake of it. I still think that you could run a variation of 8-rack and consistently go 3-2, but I would like to be as competitive as possible while playing the closest thing I can that looks towards rack as possible. I don't want to get on here and then have a poor win percentage against a competitive meta just for the excuse of like it's not going to be fun for you all to watch. It's not going to be great for me to play. So this is what we're working with just for now. Next video will probably be going back to a more traditional 8-rack list unless this list just performs crazy well or I have some different ideas of ingenuity with this list. But that being said, let me just move into the deck tech really quickly. Uh, as you know from looking at this, and if you watched my small Poxless rack video, the shell of this deck is very similar. The biggest difference is Inquisition is back in over Raven's Crime because Relic of Progenitus really has like anti synergy with Raven's Crime. We're running so much Graveyard Hay. I like being able to run the full 4 Relic main deck. So that's just my thought process there. Inquisition's a good card. A lot of times people will run it over Thoughtseize if they have to choose between the two or run more or a higher density of those. Four fatal pushes, two funeral charm because I think that killing X1s is still relevant. Um, let me see here. I may be restarting this video. Let's see if I have a Shadow Spear in my collection. I just had the idea that with all the creatures I'm running, I should be running a Shadow Spear. Do I have a Shadow Spear? Oh, great. So I don't have to restart the video. I can put the Shadow Spear in. I think my best takeout, you guys get to see a little bit of brewing live on stream here. Uh, hmm. The Pithing Needle feels important in this current meta. Hmm. Let's move Liliana the Hope to the sideboard. I'm going to go down one March of Wretched Sorrow. I was wanting to play three marches just because I wanted to get a little bit more testing with that card, but because it's performed really well the times that I've played it. I probably will, once we start moving back towards a more traditional 8 rack deck, I'll probably be looking to play this card in the main deck. And I'll go ahead and tell you why really quickly. The amount of times that I've won games by being able to pitch Thoughtseizes or Inquisitions that are dead late game by giving myself like a 6 or 8 point life swing with this card. It's won at least 3 games just on that second end of utility mode. Um, I was very low on this card. I was upset that I felt like we got one of the worst ones of the marches. I think the blue one was probably the worst, or maybe the green one. But I I, I think this is definitely the second best march now behind the white march, of course. So if you get a chance in a traditional 8 rack shell, I would try some of these out, especially in the sideboard if you're playing against aggro or burn in your meta. It's pretty surprising how much life you can gain off this card. Like against burn, for example, sometimes it's worth pitching like 3 cards out of your hand just to gain an additional 8, like just for this to gain you 8 to 10 life. It's a very good card against burn. Very good against any matchup where you might be racing. It's not so great against decks like Hammer Time though, or Murktide Regent really. So that's why right now it's just in the sideboard. But skipped to the sideboard there a little bit, but that's my reasoning there. I wanted to run a Shadow Spear because I am running 4 Tourachs, and Tourachs with a Shadow Spear is pretty powerful. And for Plague Engineers, this is kind of the Goblin tech, and it gets rid of Risen Reefs, nukes some of the other like elementals, things like it. You can name humans for Snapcaster Mage. It's just a really good 3 drop. At worst, it's got Death Touch. I've played this in the 8 rack sideboard a long time, but when you're not running Smallpox, you can afford to run Creature's main deck. So Tourach and Plague Engineer running the main deck, keeping the 4 Liliana of the Veil. I was tempted to go down a little bit for maybe a Murderous Rider or two, some sort of split, but we'll keep Liliana for now. We still have 1 rack in the deck to tutor out, so we can still get that pseudo lock with Liliana and the rack. Uh, the only downside is with Relic, we're not running any graveyard synergy really, so we're going to get less value out of Liliana's +1, but I think it'll be fine. Uh, you know, Jun for years outside of Tarmogoyf didn't really run a whole lot of graveyard synergy and got away with running 4 of these pretty easily. I think it's still worth a 4 of, or at least there are 4 3-mana removal spells in the slot. We'll play around with it. We'll see. Of course, like I did go up 1 land from my last. Well, I guess not since the. Well, it would be the last video, but during my playtesting, I just kept getting having mana problems over and over and over again the past few leagues. So I'm gonna go up 1. I might end up having to go up 1 more. I thought we could cut all the way down to 22 without smallpox, but we just need double black pips often. And the amount of times, I think I counted 4 different times that I had to mulligan hands with this one of Castle Lochtwain and no swamps. So as good as Castle Lochtwain is, it's been tempting to cut this card. The other alternative is if you do lean more into or get out of the Saga package, you probably want to run 4 of this card and like 2 to 3, maybe all 4 Mishra's Factories. But this is definitely the card that you go up if you get out of the up on as you get out of the Urza's Saga packages. But really not a whole lot else to say here. Tourach for 4 white, Plague Engineer for goblins mainly, Relic for both Murktide and Living End. So a lot of different cards that really hitting the meta on it, different axes. I am excited to see how this works out. I'm actually going to um, Burn. When I had this sideboard, Burn was a bit more popular, so I was running these collective brutalities. I think now I am going to run my 2 Void Mirrors if I still have them. I still do. I'm going to run my 2 Void Mirrors just as extra hedge. And it's Tron's getting a little bit more popular again, so the combination of Lithoform Blight, we don't really want to run Void Mirror as Tron Hate because of our Urborgs, but it does, it's mainly there for decks like Rhinos and Living In and Glimpse. The rise in popularity of Glimpse, that's kind of where I'm looking at Void Mirror for. Hex Parasite still is a one of. I'm tempted to take it out because it's becoming more and more rare that I bring it in. Nile Spellbomb, just an extra graveyard hate piece. Karn Scion of Urza, the two of. I think I went over it a little bit in my last video that this card is really for the grinding mirrors, other mid-range mirrors. When I'm running smallpox decks, usually it's like I'm taking out smallpoxes and putting this card in. It, I would just be taking out the worst Saga tutoring pieces or the worst removal spells, or something like maybe if it, in a mid-range matchup, some number of the Thoughtseizes and Inquisitions. One of Liliana of the Last Hope. Maybe this is more of a nostalgia card for me. The amount of times that I've ultimated this card running Rakdos and Marty Pyromancer decks way back when I first got into Modern. But I think the +1, whenever that +1 is good, this card makes an excellent sideboard card or one of main deck card because it can kill X1s. It actually, it basically funeral charms them. It gives them -2, -1, not +2, -1, but close enough for our purposes. Um, Kills the X1s, and it's an extra win condition against control decks. So, big fan of this card. I think it's underplayed in Modern in general, but especially right now. Pithing Needle, just an extra one. We have one in the main deck. I already went over the marches, so Sudden Edict's the only one I didn't go over. That's just another Edict spell against Murktide. It's pretty important to have those sorts of Edict spells in that matchup. Not played a whole lot of Modern yet since it switched over. I've probably ran 4 leagues total. None of them have gone great. I think it was out of those 4 leagues, 2 3-2s and a 2-3 and a 4-1 or 1-4. So we do always take the play with this deck. This could be all right. We will keep this, and we'll probably just lead on Relic. One of the biggest adjustments for me is kind of deciphering what keepable hands are with this deck. Mulliganing to 6, but they were in the tank for a while. I think if they were Tron, I don't think they would have been in the tank for so long. It's pretty obvious if you're playing Tron whether or not you should mulligan. All right. What's our opponent got? Misty Rainforest, great. Well, we'll just play second Swamp, hold up Fatal Push. We'll go ahead and exile this now. Let's see if our opponent... Okay, so Ketria Triome. Guessing it's probably some sort of 4-color. If we're fetching a Ketria Triome this early. Okay. Odd to see that. Okay. I'm not going to play the Urborg just in case, like they're 5-color or something. We're really giving them a blast from the past, playing main deck Relics, Liliana, The Last Hope. Oh, I forgot. Oh, so I had already joined this league before I started the video. That's why this card's in the main deck. So the list is going to look a little... So this is Scape Shift is what it is. Got it. So they've tipped their hat. But the list is going to look a little bit different than it looked like in the video just now. I think it'll still be fine. I may run a different league tonight just to... Now that we know it's Scape Shift, we have to be much more careful with our life total. So we are going to play the Urborg now. Opponent shocks. Are they going to... So I'm actually okay with cashing this in response. Okay. Urza Saga is good here. I don't think we're really playing to a Liliana ultimate here, so let's try to get lucky and hit something. Okay, so nothing off the Liliana. We did clear off 2 more lands off the top of our deck though, so Happy about that. Our opponent did not play a land with their growth spiral, notably. That's pretty good. Also, one of the things, too, is relics play very good with fatal pushes. Um, I really like the synergy that they give us. We'll probably cash one of these in here in a minute. I'm guessing this will be a removal spell for our Liliana. Oh, no, it's just expressive iteration. Well, they'll be hitting their land drop more than likely this turn. Guess we don't need to do revealed zone. Just look at their exile, or I don't think expressive iteration on Magic Online creates a new zone. So if you haven't seen, Scapeshift is a pretty good deck right now. If you're playing against the deck, it is very important to watch your life total. The reason why they run cards like Fire Ice and Lightning Bolt, for example, is because if you're at 18 life, okay, so they do want to make sure I am under 18. So next turn, hypothetically, a Scapeshift does kill me. So that means we got a Tourach next turn. Oh well, that's tough now. Okay, so we can't Tourach anyway, so that's fine. We'll cast the Thoughtseize. Hopefully we get one Scapeshift out of their hand here. Oh, they have both Scapeshift. They just have the nuts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They just have 6 lands though, so they're still off, uh, but not by much. Let's just go ahead and cycle this relic. Oh yeah, woo! That's what I was hoping to hit. Is the second Thoughtseize. Let's go. We'll just mill 2, or we'll just +1 on nothing and pass the turn. All right, so we got kind of lucky there, drawing into our Thoughtseize. So Growth Spiral. Dryad. Okay. Let's see. Let's just we're going to fatal push this Dryad this turn. So let's get a rack. Cast this with Kicker. So you are getting some rat content still. You are still getting some rat content. Now we'll kill the Dryad. We'll go ahead and try to mill, hit something. Oh, we got another Tourach. Awesome. Fantastic. So we're in pretty good shape here. They could rip a scape shift off the top, but I think we have a pretty good likelihood of dodging that. I'm not sure why they wouldn't just go ahead and fetch there. They are at lethal scape shift range. Okay. Um, the relics have been actually surprisingly good this matchup, given that. Okay, that's why they didn't fetch the Misty, I guess, was in case they drew a Ren and 6. Okay. Is that just lethal? Might just be lethal. It's gonna be close. So let's. Huh. I don't think they're the Dwarven Mind version of this deck, but just so we don't see any tricks here, let's do this and name Dwarf, just in case. I know that seems like a weird hedge, but We're just going to attack them. Is there any benefit to attacking the Ren and 6 here? I think there's, yeah, there's literal 0 to attacking the Ren and 6, right? Yeah, we're just attacking them. Makes fetching worse for them to thin out their deck. Oh, it actually would make it lethal if they fetch. Fantastic. All right, if it's anything but escape shift, we win. Awesome. So we got game one. Or so I don't think we have a ton of good cards for them. Lithoform Blight's okay. We'll bring in some of those. We'll definitely be going down the Funeral Charms. Um, the relics are okay. I think we're going to keep some number of these in. Definitely going down to Liliana Last Hope. As you saw that game, it really didn't do anything but just stay in play, and it was in play for like 6 turns, 7 turns. So, well, like we got to turn 7, it was still in play. Definitely want to keep all the Thoughtseizes we can. Wrench Mind's good in this matchup. Plague Engineer is just okay. Um, we'll definitely want the collective brutalities because that gains some lives. And we'll probably take these marches because that also gains life. So, like I said, it's important to keep your life total high against Scape Shift. If you can get over 21, I think they have to get to 8 lands to kill you then. So it's just something to keep in mind. Inquisition is less good now in this matchup the more I think about it. Pithing Needle, I think we want it for that. Notably, if those Funeral Charms were Blood Chief's Thirst, that would be great. But I'm not as worried about Ren and 6 in this matchup with 8 main deck creatures. I think we want to go down maybe one Liliana of the Veil, maybe one Plague Engineer. Probably 2 of the Fatal Pushes and 1 of the Tourachs. And my logic being there that I think March is better in this matchup than Fatal Push is. So we are a little bit lighter on threats than we were, but overall I think we're in good shape. This is tough. I do think we keep this hand because we do have 3 turns of disruption. We have the Inquisition for a Ren and 6 potentially. We have mana disruption. Okay, so we did hit the card that we wanted. So dress down. There's the scape shift, the growth spiral, and this would be the fire ice. So I think I'm most okay with them growth spiraling next turn instead of Sakura Tribe Eldering, because growth spiral doesn't necessarily get them a land to their hand. Notably, it does kind of stink to Thoughtseize here because we go under 18. Here's the ice coming. Glad we drew that second land. But I think this is still the right move. All right, so we're taking the scape shift. The less, if you don't take the scape shift, they could have Veil of Summer. They could have anything else. Like I think it's correct to take that here. Okay, that's a good draw. Probably upticking and discarding our Lithoform Blight. Not sure what our opponent. So they got the dress down. So we're probably actually like not even really playing to this Saga token game. Opponent is in the tank. Not sure if they're debating on doing something or if we also have the Thoughtseize if we want to. If we want to move towards that. Actually, let's do that this turn. Let's play Tourach and then Thoughtseize a card away. Because I like that better. I think that's a more aggressive play. Probably Thoughtseizing away, dress down. Opponent is deep in the tank. Not sure what's taking them a minute. This is a rare game where I have less clock than my opponent. Typically, I play too fast to a fault. So, definitely going to give my opponent some leeway here on taking a second. So we're just going to normal cast Tourach, no kicker. We'll see how they respond. They're going to growth spiral. I don't know why they would. Okay. I was like, I don't know why they would worry about dress downing here. Hopefully, okay, they brick on the land. That's great. That means they can't dress down in response. And that means we still get this off the Tourach. If they drew Veil, that'll be annoying, but not the end of the world. Okay, so that doesn't appear to be Veil. Just Bolt. Okay. Uh, hmm. They would just take the dress down still. That leaves us a pretty good clock in play, especially if we draw another land. Oh, now we have the Lithiform Blight for the Valakut. That's great. And so perfect. We get to get our full value here. But growth spirals. I'm actually okay with them hitting a land drop there. We'll go ahead and just do this just because. So it's Force of Vigor unknown is what's in their hand left. So let's just get rid of everything here besides Force of Vigor. They could instant speed the Force of Vigor here. I don't know why they wouldn't unless I guess they might be saving it specifically for when I create this token, which would make sense. I can't imagine letting me untap with this Saga when you have a Force of Vigor in hand. Oh wow, okay. I'm pretty okay with how that went. Let's cantrip here. Okay. I want to keep the card advantage game going for a little bit longer with this Liliana. Oh, that's perfect. Don't have another land. Awesome. So Liliana gets really good value here. Hmm. Not sure if we even really want to give them a second land. We'll get them to sacrifice a creature. I think we're going to put the Lithoform Blight on the same land. Okay. We'll Lithoform Blight our own land and just avoid using that for anything else. Probably chump blocking to save this Liliana here. I'm not sure actually if that's the right move. Okay, Ren and 6, though we're definitely not now. Yep, lose that. Lose the Liliana. So let's colorless 1. Get their Valakut again. This is all 3 of our Lithiform Blights? Yeah. So Veil. That's actually pretty fine. I know that draws them an extra card, but and it keeps us from drawing a card, but that's like one of the weaker Veils. I'm pretty okay with that. We definitely knew this was in their deck. That's why earlier um, I made some of the decisions I did. I am glad that they are out of. I can't believe why would they exile their fetch land? That makes no sense unless they're running Snapcaster or something like that, or a Murktide Regent to secretly get us. I don't get why, if you have Red and 6 in your deck, with our Scalding Tarn trigger, they chose to exile the fetch land there. But never punished. They found their fetch land anyway. And that's probably the game. Oh, no. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that not? Oh, because never mind. This Valak gets turned off completely. I think that was their game plan, was to start Valakuting us with the Dryad. Does that just escape shift kill me? We'll make sure they have enough mountains in their deck, but I can't imagine because they are just 60 cards. They're not the 80 card version. But I can't imagine them not just. I think they can get all three Valakits here or something. We'll see if they have 3 versus 4 Valakits in their deck, maybe. Grab a little drink here. Does appear that they just have 3, possibly. Okay, I won't make them put every single one of these on the stack. I'll just concede. No, they just did save targets. All right, well that could have gone a lot better. Um, hmm. I still think draw. I didn't want to draw all 3 lithoform blights of that game, but as you saw there, it was a good piece of the puzzle. Okay, I'm not a big fan of not having a Thoughtseize here, but and having 2 of the 1 mana removal spells. Oh, and then the other thing that makes March better than Fatal Push here is this also can hit Planeswalkers, which is pretty fantastic. Like, that's not something that's necessarily intuitive. So we are going to pitch the Fatal Push, I think. And this is simply to basically keep our life total even higher above where we were. Okay, so they do plan on. This one's tough. It's tough not to take the iteration here. I'm leaning more. Ugh. So it's between the iteration and the scape shift, or even the force of vigor. They're definitely not going to fire Isis next turn. They have to Sakura Tribe Eldris. So I think it's right to take the scape shift. Okay, I think that's correct. That lets us do more for longer. I can't imagine them holding up Fire Ice here instead of just playing the Sakura Tribe Elder. That lets us get our Liliana down. We can tick up, discard our March. If for whatever reason they didn't, we could play our Plague Engineer, but I can't imagine them not here. Okay, Wrenchmine will be good later. We'll empty their hand pretty quickly, which is nice. I'm curious to see if they will sacrifice this at end of turn, or if they'll want to attack us a few times. We're going to play to that they are willing to sacrifice their or get rid of their Dryad with the Force of Vigor. We'll see, though. So we know 4 cards in hand. There's 1 unknown. This is a pretty tough matchup. Notably, this matchup is a lot better playing more traditional 8-rack than it is. I think we get rid of the March here. Ugh. I think we actually get rid of the Plague Engineer. As odd as that sounds, even though it seems like that's like our threat that doesn't get hit by the Force of Vigor here, but this just gives us more ways to play around certain stuff. Because the likelihood that we're playing Plague Engineer anytime soon is very, very low. We're probably going to be discarding it to Liliana anyway. So if our opponent missed a land drop and was willing to attack us with the Sakura Tribe Elder, that's interesting. Okay, it's because they're... Wow, are they going to... Okay, I thought they were doing all that and they missed their land drop too for the turn. Well... I think it's correct just to wrench mind here. They could force a vigor, but they would lose their entire hand by doing so. We have a follow-up. We have a way to kill their Dryad if we need to and gain some more life. I would have liked to have kept that Liliana of the Veil around, specifically to be able to kill their Dryad without having to exile any cards. But yeah, this is, I don't blame our opponent for taking time to think about this one, because this is really a question of, do you force now, get rid of my threat, or and get hellbent? Okay, so they do choose to keep the expressive iteration. I think that's the correct play, though I could see an argument with just playing with the top of your deck. Expressive iteration, them not knowing what's in our hand, that's their way to win the game. So we come to the expressive iteration. We're just going to dismiss all of these now since it's one unknown in the expressive. I think we're just getting a Pithing Needle on Renin 6. So Steam is they're making their land drop. They do shock in their land drop, and they have a second Dryad. Okay. Okay, well, that's pretty good. Hmm. I actually, let's see, let's float a black, and we're actually going to get a rack here. I think we may get the expedition map, so they're going to bolt us again, basically. Notably, they're still way off after I kill this Dryad here. Okay, so just floating the black. I think we just get the expedition map. Hmm. This is tough. I don't want to exile my Tourach. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's correct to exile my Tourach here, because that only deals 3 on its face. This puts us back above. Well, it does put them in. If they draw exactly land and scape shift, they can kill us. So we'll go ahead and crack this. Get our Urza Saga. Play our Urza Saga. Pass the turn. Notably, I wish I had the Shadow Spear in the deck right here. Uh, as you did see me try to put it in, but I forgot that I had already registered for the league and I needed to drop and re-enter the league to have the Shadow Spear in my main deck. It's a mistake on my part, but we'll get through it. Okay. See, once again, if we this is actually a little bit of a tight spot because I do think that we want to just go ahead and Inquisition here. It is Scape Shift. I think they have lethal next turn. They do not. So that was why that gaining life was important there. So they need one more land drop before it's lethal. Okay, so now it is lethal Scape Shift. We'll just make sure that they have it. So disappointing start to this game. I felt like we were ahead in both of our last 2 games, and I felt like we played correctly. This game, it was just the last card in their hand was Scape Shift that they top decked, and that's what happens. Did they not get their? Okay, I don't see their Valk. Oh, there. It's a different art. 12, 15, 18, 21. Yeah, we'll have to go back on the film and check out if we could have done anything differently there. I don't think there was any misplays that game. We've just been running pretty poorly as far as luck goes recently. It's also, just the nature of one, playing Magic in general, and two, trying to play like off meta decks and like a little bit maybe less raw power level decks. I think that Scape Shift with traditional rack were probably like 65-35 favored, but that matchup with this kind of meta deck Mono Blacklist, or I should say, well, I guess meta deck is appropriately named. I think we are um, pretty good with, or like probably less than 50-50 against them, even with all that life gain. We did make the right decision there to exile Tourach to our march. It saved us enough life that it kept us in the game. The season, as far as people playing competitively, is underway. Quite a few people. I know E-tron's been making some waves again. All right. Opponent's playing first. Okay, well, if they are a deck Fatal Push is good against, this is a good hand. But no cards basically besides our Fatal Push. Not knowing what we're up against, like it could be anything. That's just not a very good hand. This one is much better. I'm glad we kept it. Probably throw back the expedition map here. Uh, Or do I? It's either expedition map, funeral charm, or fatal push. We won all three lands. I do think it's expedition map. There might be a good argument for fatal push here, but as it's the one with the like the lowest floor, like it could just be completely dead, and the other cards aren't. So Hedron Crab, okay. Glad we kept the fatal push. Would be the one example of had I sit back the fatal push, I would have looked like a dummy. Kill the crab. So if you don't know, we're more than likely playing against Mill. It's still technically possible that we're playing against like Crabvine. So there's the Hedron Crab. Oh wow, they did not rip the second land. This will be a fun combo. We could potentially Plague Engineer on Crab and then Funeral Charm their Crab away. That would be fun. Let's just take the Crab, I guess. What's founding the third path is just, yeah, that's just the weird new Snapcaster Mage card. Visions, Crab. Okay, let's just take the second Crab. That just represents the most mill over a long game. The rest of the cards, they do cycle, but I don't want to take Fractured Sanity here, I don't think. Because it is kind of taking a whole turn off to mill 4. If they choose to cycle it. Founding of the Third Path could be a 2-for-1 for them, but I think you have to take one of the 1-drops there. And out of the 1-drops, I think that the Crab was the correct take. Okay, so Visions of Beyond just to cycle it. Okay, so here comes the milling. Okay, mills me for 2. Curious what they'll do with their... Okay, so they do choose to hold up the fetch. That's fine. We are going to name Crab here. I don't know if we'll get cute with it and Funeral Charm and kill the Crab or not, but they probably don't have any other creatures in their deck besides Ruin Crab and Hedron Crab, so it still seems correct. So this does. So this still does mill 3. For whatever reason, I was thinking that this one milled 2 and that Ruin Crab milled 3 for some reason. All right. I'm guessing they just cycle this Visions of Beyond again. I don't know if there's a reason to do it that way or not. Maybe our opponent. I think that was just for speed on our opponent's part. Okay, so the founding of the third path. I'm guessing they probably just so they do cast 1 from their hand for free. Maddening Cacophony. Okay. They mill me for 8. I'm alright with not making a token here and just emptying the rest of their hand. Okay, even better. That gives me... So we'll wrench bind them. See what our opponent discards. So Crypt Incursion, Fractured Sanity. Crypt Incursion main's interesting. So we don't know what their last card at hand is. It's tempting. I think the correct thing to do here is to kill this crab. I know like it's really tempting to get the last card out of their hand, but I'm gonna kill the crab. And I thought about that for a second because I had to tell myself or let myself know like, hey, is this just me being cute with it, or is there like actual utility to this? So the way that they read ahead, I don't think there's. Okay, so we did make the right choice, I believe. Tasha City's Laughter. That might get rid of the rest of our deck for all I know. Okay, we got rid of quite a bit of our deck. How much? I guess we'll find out as we go. Yeah, I think it's correct to go ahead and get this. So, oddly, I think we get the expedition map with the plan that we could also get that Mishra's factory if we want it for some reason. As of now, it's just basically there to pump up our construct token, but we'll let them target whatever they want to target if they want. Okay, they are in the tank here. Like whatever they do, like they got to know that I want to exile. Okay, yeah, yeah. Because if I let them cast that, obviously we lose. So exile all cards from all graveyards. Draw a card. Oh, perfect. So we draw the Mishra's Factory. That's like. So what's our opponent doing here? Okay. Oh, now we just lose. Okay. Our opponent did rip the only card that wins them the game there off the top of their deck. We win the game in 2 turns, but yeah, that's unfortunate. Mill is usually a pretty good matchup for us. We are going to bring in a couple of the Karns. Going to take out the Funeral Charms. They're pretty bad. Probably take out the Pithing Needle and 1 or 2 of the relics for. We don't care about our life total, so we'll bring in a Hex Parasite. And. I guess Collective Brutalities for 2 relics. I think that's a good. That's a pretty good mix. So pretty unfortunate luck for us there, but this is usually a favored matchup, so we'll see how it goes. We do have the Wombo combo of Hex Parasite and Urza Saga. We might be keeping this just because of that. I actually think this is a pretty good racing them hand, if that's what we decide to go with. And I can lead on this Mishra's Factory because we have the Urborg. Opponent was in the tank, probably reading this card. Probably get the Urza Saga in play this next turn and attack with the Mishra's Factory. And then we'll start just trying to aggressively loop the Saga. Okay, pretty aggressive hand that we've got here. Our opponent does know our deck list. They might have been checking to see if we had this Hex Parasite main deck. If I was playing Mill, I probably would be like screen clipping the entire deck. It was correct of me to, would have been correct of me to just concede there instead of allowing that last Tasha's to resolve, but I just click through it. Okay, so they can. This card's a pretty good Magic card. I'm pretty impressed by it. It does make Mill a bit better, but I think it also has got to have other homes too. Okay. So now we're going to be having Saga tokens for as long as we want Saga tokens now. So as long as our opponent doesn't have like a dress down. Do we want the second? I don't think we want the second Saga in play yet. Next turn we'll probably want it to put it in play. Okay. So sure, they're milling us 4. The fact that it is target player, like this does help mill a decent amount. Next turn is when our loop officially starts. So this will be worth recording just for you all to get this loop on camera. It's slow, but once it gets going, it can generate quite a bit of power over just 2 or 3 turns. Okay. Well, I'm glad we didn't play out the second Saga here. They have to be trying to come after this Urza Saga, right? They do. Okay. It is a forced search, but I don't think that they would keep their archive traps in against us. They may. They do get the Saga out of our hand. I'm surprised. I don't like running Extirpate over Surgical Extraction. I know it can't be countered, but Surgical's just too good. Fire Exceed Mana is busted. Okay. I don't see them being able to stop what we're doing here. So create a construct. That will be lethal next turn, I believe. So this creates one more. This creates one more. We can play the Relic. It's a pretty fast clock. It'll be a turn 5 kill in what is essentially a rack deck still. So I think they have to run Glimpse here. The only thing that could maybe kill us would be I'm surprised they didn't maybe cast something. So they do play the Glimpse or choose to. Exile and copy it. Okay, so they do that. You have 23 left. The reason why I'm glad they cast that glimpse was because that means they can't Tasha's this turn. And unless they have, I would imagine they probably sideboarded out Fatal Bushes and Crypt Incursions and things like that. But I'm sorry for pulling this up and getting quiet for a second. I'm just trying to figure out what they know about versus don't know about as far as our sideboarding choices go. So Founding of the Third Path, okay. Now they can cast a card from their hand without paying its mana cost. Oh, so they just skip ahead to milling me 4. Okay, so we have lethal, right? I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm okay. So let me count this up. I think it's actually correct to do this like this. And we'll remove just in case there is something weird going on here. Okay. Like just in case there was something funky going on with like I don't think that they would run Slaughter Pact or like Force of Despair or something like that, but you never know. It's better to be thorough. And that would give us several different threats that could be lethal instead of just relying on just the Karn. Do I want to make any changes? I don't think I do. Um, like I said, once again, I don't care about the life gain, so March isn't good. Collective Brutality is just okay. This hand is pretty good. We can kill their turn 1 crab if they have it. The only thing is I'd like to have double black. They do have the turn 1 crab, awesome. Okay, there's our second black, perfect. Kill the crab. Next turn we'll wrench mine them. And then we'll play Plague Engineer. I don't think they ever really ran Snapcaster in Mill. Like there was other cards besides Snap that was good. Okay, so they would have had a really good crab hand against us here. Oh, well, this is even better. So yeah, just 2 modes. And we'll do that. Kill your creature. Collective Brutality is really an underrated Magic card. I should have played probably either the Factory or the Saga here. If for whatever reason they have like a Spell Pierce, we get blown out a little bit, but they've not given me any reason to think that they have a card like that. I thought they were showed as targeting themselves for a minute. Search your library for a trap card. Okay, so we're very much so taking the Tasha's Hideous Laughter here. That card basically says if it was life total, it would be like 3 mana, do 8 to 10 damage against our deck for them. So it is pretty good in this matchup. So I'm guessing they're going with the Dothy here. So what does Dothy have any super types? Just Rogue. So we're definitely going to go with Rogue instead of. Uh, This is interesting. So this is just all this searches for is Archive Trap, basically. Is the point of this card. So we know Trapmaker, Snare, 1 unknown. Hmm. I think we wrench mine them here. Uh, this does eventually get some of our stuff. You can make the argument to play Plague Engineer this turn, then Tourach into Wrench Mine next turn. Means that they could also Wrench Mine me if they wanted to, but I'm pretty fair with that trade. If they want to get the Voidwalker out of play. Okay, so Surgical my Thoughtseize, got it. And then the Trapmaker Snare. So they're running Surgical and Extirpate. That makes more sense. All right. Let's see if our opponent Thoughtseizes us, if they Wrench Mind us, if they... So Ruin Crab, it's fine. Okay, so they're just going aggro. Got it. That was a pretty good draw. They will be able to kill our construct next turn, but we race them very well now. Or our Karn next turn. So I'm pretty happy with how this has gone, especially if they sacrifice this Dothy to Wrench Mine me. That would be ideal. This is once again another game where the Shadow Spear would have been good, though. My opponent's kind of in the tank. Not sure what's taking them a second. There's really nothing. Are they thinking maybe they can sacrifice this? They probably just stepped away for a second. Or on a different screen. They can Wrench Mine me next turn and get rid of my last two cards, but the likelihood that I'm casting either of them, probably this game, is actually pretty low. So, not too tremendously worried about it. I'd much rather them waste the Wrench Mind on my hand than leave this Karn alive. Let's see what they choose to do. I can't imagine. Like, you have to go after the Karn, or you have to Wrench Mine me. Okay. So they do get the Karn. Let's just keep getting aggressive. Let's see if they block with the Ruin Crab for whatever reason. Okay, they do. So we teach our opponent that Mishra's Factory turns into an artifact creature. Kill their Ruin Crab for free. So we'll probably get Pithing Needle on Dothy Voidwalker here. I think that's the correct play. So Fractured Sanity, each opponent mills 14. Okay, they all have Voidwalker counters on them now. So I don't see any of these being... Like, maybe you get the Plague Engineer here. You could say Plague Engineer on Construct, but the damage is kind of already done with that. You could get the Karn Sign of Urza and start making constructs of your own, but it would immediately die the next turn more than likely, so... Let's see what our opponent's game plan is. They're thinking about this one hard, and this one's, once again, I'm going to give them some grace because this is actually like a somewhat complicated decision. I think that if I were in their shoes, I think the play would be Karn Sign of Urza, or just hold on to your Dothy Voidwalker for another turn. They have to be thinking that I have a Pithing Needle, though. Do I have a Pithing Needle is the question. Okay, I don't even have a Pithing Needle in my deck to name the Voidwalker, so I took it out during sideboarding. Not attacking doesn't make any sense to me, and not making any decision doesn't make sense to me. Because now, like, If I have Pithing Needle, you kind of just lose, right? I don't. But if I did, you'd be in trouble. So now they're in a spot where they have to choose to go to 3 next turn or waste their Voidwalker on a Fatal Push. They would have to pull off a small miracle to get out of this one. I guess they could always chump block with the Hedron Crab too. Once again, our opponent in the tank, in the tank. There is a chance that Tasha's would be lethal. Um, I'm not going to sit here and do out all the math to see if that's true. Now's definitely like so before it made sense to me that you might want to, think about this quite a bit. This would actually put them at 1, is that right? If they don't block here. I'm guessing they plan on blocking. We'll probably just keep this relic up as surgical defense. It's probably what we'll do. Like I won't be activating this there. So if they try to surgical me, now if they extirpate me, it doesn't matter. But so as of now, they're going to 1 if they don't block. Opponent does not block. Okay. The cards that they draw now that can win them the game are like very, very small. I'm not going to say it's impossible because I've definitely seen wilder things and like they double top deck Tasha's on me last game, so this does deal 3 damage to them. Like it's not nothing. I don't like I said I don't get this decision. I think to me it's like you either make the bodies, but I mean there's it's tricky. Probably Plague Engineer on Construct is up there. There really aren't a ton of good options here for them to have named. They're still in the tank, which I don't understand. Like do they think that so this doesn't change the timing on cards. Like they can't just sacrifice this now and cast Karn Sign of Urza at their end step if they want to. That's not how this card works. Okay, well, they probably just don't know how their own card works unless they're intending on fatal pushing here. It doesn't change the timing restrictions, right? So, well, there's a good chance that maybe our opponent's like doesn't typically play a lot of modern because they got with the Mishra's Factory earlier and the Ruin Crab synergy. Okay. What did they choose? Okay, so they chose incorrectly. They didn't understand how timing restrictions worked with Dothy Voidwalker, and okay, so that I don't think they win that game anyway, but that did definitely hasten the process up. Them wasting like 10 minutes to figure that one out though was a bit annoying, but here we are, 1-1. So interestingly, you've seen both these games played against matchups that are usually like pretty much 65+% favored for Iraq, and neither one of them were walks in the parks this time around. Obviously, we did lose the Scape Shift. I think that we still might be after sideboard. We're probably slightly unfavored because of Veil of Summer and a few other cards. Pre-sideboard, I think we're favored. Um, Match 2, we're usually like very favored against Mill, but I don't know. We were able to squeeze out it by the spell of our teeth. All right, we will not be getting to play this game, unfortunately. It is nice to be able to take the play. Makes for less stressful games, at least for sure. All right. I think we keep this hand. If someone told me that this was a weak hand against some percentage of the meta, I'd have to be inclined to agree, but just if we draw anything besides a land on two different draw steps, we're in really good shape. Don't see basic forest very often. Okay, so Nettle Sentinel. Well, I'm glad we have 4 main deck Plague Engineers. I don't know if they'll help any, though. So we take the War Master for sure. And we can kill the Ranger if we would like. Next turn. Hopefully they don't really draw much. They have, yeah, 4 lands and a Curian Ranger. Okay. Once again, I'm not sure what's going on with our opponents lately. Like, I just F6 through their turn. They must not have a stop at their second combat main phase, is all I can figure. Okay, so there's the second force we know about. Dwinen's Elite. Okay. Definitely not out of the woods here. It is tempting to trade this Mishra's Factory, but I think that's just incorrect. Kind of got to pick and choose our battles here. I guess we have to kill the token. I'm not happy about it, but that's where we're at. Oh, awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Woo. They might scoop to the main deck Plague Engineer, I'm not sure. But this is why I'm playing this version of the deck right now. There was 5 new lords printed that gave every relevant tribe in Modern a new lord. And all of them are X1s. So I don't feel bad about it. I feel bad about not just making them discard this Funeral Charm, though. I would have liked that. Opponent really can't play their Curion Ranger. Okay, so we know one of the Windswept Heaths is gone. Elvish Archdruid, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, we're just going to take it. They don't have their Draw Engine Lord in play yet. This next turn, we're going to start making bodies, so. Yeah, let's Thoughtseize, because that card is a. So we do know they do have a castable card in hand. So we're taking the cord for sure. Because who knows what that represents with this list, so. It is annoying that I'm going to probably have to take 4 here. But after this turn, I don't think that they attack very well. Annoyingly, once again, this is like a game where Shadow Spear may win us the game, or may would have won us the game, where it might not now. Okay. We just have to take it, right? So, are they reading Urza Saga? Probably. Yeah. They figured out that they can attack. Like a little bit of life gain, maybe. Which that would have been nice to have off this Saga, but here we are. These Saga tokens should be able to outgrow their creatures. At least for a while. Okay, so that's even better. Oh wow, so now they just lose. Okay, let's just float you. So if you see why they just lose here, it's pretty fun. We didn't have our preferred card for the matchup in Shadowspear, but this Liliana, the Last Hope, just kills this Elvish Archdruid, and bye bye board for our opponent. Oh, huh. I don't know why I was thinking that killed everything. I guess it doesn't. Oh well. I think we just stay back. Now this thing is killing one a turn though. We're at 6. I don't want just the odd like lord into lord that I don't know about or something getting us. Okay, Temple Garden. The fact that they're debating on whether or not to leave this untapped, yeah, that's a little bit concerning. Okay, I guess I'm gonna create a construct here. Hmm. So we Pithing Needle. Let's read. What does Curing Ranger do? So it just untaps target creature. So that's not really very relevant. Let's name. This is tough. I think Azuri Renegade Leader is the correct thing. That's the thing that can give them trample. Azuri Renegade Leader. Uptick on that. So they do have the cord for a lord, but this does make them get the other lord, the Archdruid, which means they shouldn't be able to kill us at least. Goes to so Realm Walker. That's interesting. I don't know if I agree with that decision, but got to get in there for 4. Let's start trying to kill him because that Realm Walker might be able to kill us. It's possible. So that basically just untaps their Nettle Sentinel, clears the card off the top. I like how Magic Online doesn't even bother putting it on the battlefield or even pretending like it might go to the battlefield. Just boom, straight in the graveyard from the stack. Okay, well. So I'm going to shuffle it away. I think they are determined. They failed to find a 4. Well, that's important. Oh, they just had to have intentionally done that, though. Okay. Well, we are built pretty well against them. Let's see what we can bring in the matchup. I think 3 marches is correct, and then 1 collective brutality. And I think we just run it back the way it is. Wrench might not be the greatest. Might not be the greatest. Going down that many artifacts is rough with Urza Saga, but it's rare that we have multiple artifacts in play with Urza Saga anyway. Like I could see running. Let's go with the second Pithing Needle for a Thoughtseize, just because Thoughtseize deals us a little bit of damage, and let's resubmit. Just being able to name Azuri Renegade Leader is probably good in this spot. Tourach might 1 more collective brutality might be better too. Tourach's not particularly great. It having pro white might be relevant. As you saw, they splashed for both colors of Naya there, so I'm not entirely sure what their whole game plan is, but Plague Engineer looking like an all-star. Once again, this is just I wouldn't advise necessarily taking this deck to your F&M unless you're at a larger city, larger store where people do bring like different decks all the time. Where like everyone's playing like the new hotness. Like when they go, usually not. If you go to local F&M, people play the same deck for years and years. Okay, this is a keepable hand. I would rather have a Plague Engineer, but this is a hard one to pass up. It's got a pretty good clock, got pretty good interaction. Okay, I like when they lead on Nettle Sentinel the instead of a Dork on turn one. Wow, so spells and abilities your opponent's control can't cause you to sacrifice permanents. That's interesting. So we take the Curion Ranger here just because it lets them get extra mana, essentially. We will be naming Azuri Renegade Leader with this Pithing Needle. So they do fail to hit their... Okay, well, now it's kind of, as they say, garbage time, I guess. So Pithing Needle, Azuri. Azuri Renegade Leader. We'll definitely be fatal pushing one of these, but curious just to see how their turn plays out before I do so. If these died to the Plague Engineer, I would be less inclined. So push that. No land drop. Perfect. All right. I think this is probably already over. We'll see. Like, they have the mana for Fatal Push now because if they run it in their sideboard or something. So they do have that. Or if they run Lightning Bolt, I guess they have access to that maybe. But here's the issue, too. Like, this just immediately dies to Plague Engineer. Well, 4 main deck Plague Engineer is the secret sauce against tribal decks. Okay. I mean, they're more than welcome to attack if they would like. I will be blocking. Okay, that's a good draw. That's not even like that relevant for this turn, but it will be in future turns probably. Takenuma is great when you're running creatures in your deck too. I appreciate that. Second War Master. Okay, so they trigger off each other, but they all die anyway, so this would be not really nice to have a Blood Artist effect. So if you ever played these cards, this first token will trigger this guy because Elvish War Master doesn't specify that it has to be non-token or anything like that. Okay, opponent was thinking about getting in there, I think. I think we just get Expedition Map here and do it all over again. Once again, this would be a nice spot to have have that Shadow Spear because it would have been the perfect equip Shadow Spear turn, but that's okay. It's not made or broke the game at any point, so we'll take it. We even have this backup as an emergency if they play a Lord, or I wouldn't even say as an emergency, just like an ultimate blowout of just, oh, you think you have a clean attack because you have a Lord? Here's 2 creatures dying now. Okay, so they have the cord. I wonder what they're going to cord for. So we will most definitely be holding up the march next turn. Curious if they go ahead and cord now. They do not. Okay. There's no need for them to, so I get that. Play the Saga. I think we just keep being aggressive and keep beating down. If they try to get us with this, like there's no creature in their deck that we can't kill. Azuri's name, so they can't surprise us with an Azuri. Okay. I think I disagree with that play, but also get it too, though. You have to. What do they pitch on that? Probably Azuri. Yeah. All right, this turn's good. We'll hold up March, and so we won't be attacking, but that's fine. We'll hold up one March. We'll probably march the crap out of something. I think I'm okay with go ahead and get them with this construct token now. If I thought our opponent wouldn't maybe triple block, I would get in with the Plague Engineer to try to get them to get blown out. But as it stands, I think they would. I think they would triple block there. Okay, well, I'm just going to do this to gain some life more than anything else, and to make it difficult for them to triple block. And if they want a cord right here, they have to do it now. If they want a cord for 2, let's see if they cord for 2. I can't imagine that there's anything that they want to cord for 2/4. I can't. There's nothing that regenerates them or anything like that. Okay, so they don't have anything. Got it. Okay, perfect. We're just going to keep holding on to this Takenuma as long as we can in case they do have a way to kill our Plague Engineer. Okay, we're definitely taking the... Let's take the cord. I'm okay with them playing that Archdruid and me just blowing it up with the March of Wretched Sorrow next turn. Perfect. Perfect. God, I hope they play this and then attack. Oh, this will be disgusting. I will expect a concession if they play this and they're like, you know what, I'm going to attack now. So they're like, wow, both these 2/2s are up. Yeah, well, they had to know this was coming, or I would have taken the Archdruid, but see ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Goodbye, Archdruid. Once again, I'm going to keep holding on to this Takenuma. We can't really attack with the Plague Engineer anymore. Not that we wanted to anyway. Okay. So I'm going to hit OK. Now I'm going to create a construct token, and both of them are going to die. Okay. I think this is our opponent just giving up at this point. All right, yeah, that was just our opponent giving up. 2-1. Hopefully this doesn't... Hopefully me losing round 1 doesn't scare you all away, because the next 2 rounds have been pretty good. As you can see, there's not really like a clearly defined meta right now, which is like frustrating when you're trying to build a more control-y type deck like Thourach. The closest thing to the meta that I can find is like you have to be prepared for tribal decks, you have to be prepared for 4-color, and you have to be prepared for graveyard decks. And so it's what we're running. If we can get a 4-1 out of this, or even a 3-2, I wouldn't be. We take 3-2s here, but 4-1's the goal, obviously. This league. All right. We make the mulligan decision first. We play first. I'm not used to that. I'm used to being able to know whether or not a hand is good based on what our opponent chooses. This is tempting. If this land was anything other than Urza Saga, I think this would be a snap keep. I do think I'm going to keep it, but it's close. If one of these was a Thoughtseize, I would be much more inclined to do so. Opponent did mulligan pretty fast, but also they had a lot of time while we were going over our mulligan to make that decision. Or it could have just been an unkeepable hand for all we knew. All right. It's going to be very easy for me to potentially skip through a turn at one point. Oh, we just take the Blood Moon, I guess. I mean, we'll be taking this Prismatic Ending so that they don't have a card to pitch to Solitude, but all right. Opponent's in the tank. In la tank. It's tempting to just play out the Tourach here to give them, so they can't. Well, they could Prismatic Ending next turn, so we won't. But I always forget Prismatic Ending can hit. All right, go ahead and get him again. I think it is now correct to take the Prismatic Ending. Just because we have the Wombo combo of Relic of Progenitus and Fatal Push. Maybe it's right to take the Ranger there because something like a Walking Ballista might be annoying late game. Not sure what other one drops they would be getting besides maybe a Ragavan though. Land would be terrific. Okay. That's the worst land we could have drawn, but I will still happily take it. The worst land we could have drawn is better than no lands. It's my motto, at least. Next turn, we will be likely getting an expedition map to get an Urborg. Well, what do we got, opponent? So, we now know about okay. So we're just updating our hand space here, especially it's getting a little bit later. I'm working a new job, so I'm getting a little bit mentally exhausted from that. So any little bit helps with me here. Let's see what they reveal. Probably a Walking Ballista. Ragavan. Well, it's a card that ideally will never be getting in. Once again, I would really like to have a Shadow Spear here. So, noted that all four of our games so far, there's been a point where I would have gotten a Shadow Spear off this Urza Saga. So, even though I did plan on running it in the main deck, all right. Big question is here: do we make a second token? I think the answer has to be yes. So the real question is, I think we now. It's a little bit tougher of a call now. Whatever I get will probably get exiled by Prismatic Ending next turn, I would imagine. If I'm not casting it. So I might be outsmarting myself here, but I'm going to get a Relic. And I'm going to play this. And we'll see if they want to Solitude my other creature in trade. If they do, I'll take it. Not very scared of Dress Down or anything of that nature. Just clarify here. Did I take that Prismatic Ending? I believe we did. I believe that is correct. Playing around a card I think I took with the Inquisition, so. We have multiple layers here. We have protection from Prismatic Ending if for whatever reason they have it. I'm sure they're at the point where they're thinking, well, one more turn I can cast this Solitude. Okay, we're not going to cycle these relics yet. As tempting as it is, we'll probably be getting a Pithing Needle on Arid Mesa, which is a bit funny, but there's really not a whole lot of better things we can take. I guess we take the expedition map. I don't particularly want to here, but that's where we're at. Okay. Attack for 12. Ripping another land would have been great there, but I'll take what I can get. Okay, that's fine. Even if they plan on blocking and bolting here, I can definitely consider that a win. They're either going to block or bolt or, sack. But okay, so they do probably plan on blocking and bolting. We'll go ahead and get him to exile a few cards. Not because I think it matters, but because I'm afraid that it might matter. like it is possible that it will matter. Especially when you see decks like this, which for a while I've been saying I am a bit surprised with the Ranger Captain, but I think like a Boros Ephemerate style list has just been with Ragavans has just been waiting to come about. It's just Boros, all the best cards. Boros best cards in Magic. Okay. Well, I didn't plan on doing this. I was going to wait till combat to do this, but we'll go ahead and do this now. And we'll just go ahead and cast the Thoughtseize. I'm going to take Castle Lochtwain here. Uh, I think we're past the point that we need an Urborg. If we just draw any fourth land, we can Tourach. Maybe there's a argument to just play Tourach for 2 mana too, but considering it as pro white, all right. So we knew the Solitude was coming, and we also know that there is a second viable target in their hand besides the Solitude. So is this there's some weird Sunforger deck. I don't particularly care about either of these cards. I am going to take the Fervent Champion just because it is better. It is really good in multiples if they have multiple Fervent Champions. But I know that we can also safely attack without losing either of our constructs here, so pretty good. Pretty happy about our chances. I would be shocked if they dash a Ragavan here. I guess they just have to hit something good, or they're just dashing for information, probably more likely. Hope we don't show them a Tourach. Okay. Well, they did hit a Fatal Push, so they did hit something good, as Ragavan does tend to do. It is our favorite little nemesis. Okay. What's the kind of asking like what's the over under here on? I think I just leave up multiple removal spells. Is better than playing the Tourach because if I play the Tourach, then I'm inclined to block the Ragavan, and it just creates an odd situation. We do get blown out pretty good by Fury here. Okay, we'll let them go to combat. And I think I am going to Fatal Push this instead of... Instead of showing them Funeral Charm is in my deck, it's just an extra card of information. Okay, so they didn't have anything. All right. This match seems like it could be a little tricky. Weirdly, I think I am going to bring in the Lithoform Blight. That's tempting. I don't know. Let's see. That's kind of like that. That might be too cute. I was going to say to make sure I can cast my an extra way to like fix my colors against a Blood Moon, but hopefully there was enough swamps there that they feel less inclined. Tourach is probably going to be played as a 2 mana creature. Liliana the Veil should be good. Plague Engineer should be good. Or Liliana the Last Hope, I mean. Liliana the Veil should be fine as well. Inquisition is not great in this matchup. I think Relic is pretty bad. Let's go down basically all of our relics. And we'll go up. Go up Karns. We'll definitely go up 2 marches. Now, what adjustments do we make from here is the question. 4 Plague Engineer just feels like so much, but they stack so well. I've been happy with them this league. Even against Mill, where it didn't seem to matter as much, I still was happy with it. I don't want to go down any Tourachs because the Pro White is so good. I mean, he's a little bit cold to Fury, but let's see. I should go down one Urza's Saga. I know it seems odd, but they are a Blood Moon deck. Let's go down one Urza Saga. In exchange for, I'm tempted, let's just go up the 3rd March. This is a matchup where I think we're going to be trying to like outpace our opponent a little bit. Okay, this is once again like there's so many. I think this is the 6th or 7th game now total, where like this hand now becomes questionably keepable because it had a Castle Lochtwain instead of just a swamp. I like Castle Lochtwain, but man, it's like Moto knows. And watch this. They'll have a turn 1 Ragavan now, and be able to get in a hit with them. Unless we top deck a swamp here. I'm not gonna hold my breath though. Of course we do not. So they will get 1 free Ragavan hit just because this is in a swamp. I even went down a Nurturing Peatland recently and backed up a swamp so that this would come into play untapped more often, but here we are. They are able to get to their Blood Moon possibly, and that might kill us on the spot. We'll definitely play things out, but won't be looking good for us if they Blood Moon us here. Okay, just a sword. That's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. So I think they are like the Sun Forger combo deck. Hmm. I guess we do. I guess we do names. Gosh, do I care about Sword of Fire and Ice in this matchup though? I just don't know that I do. Not sure what else to name. Hmm. Yeah, I'm okay with since this is the one in play. Let's just name it. I don't want to, but it could. I think that later, if I don't, I think I'll regret it more than definitely got a higher downside. Okay, so Fervent Champion. All right, we'll go ahead and let them attack before we make this decision. But we will kill the monkey. I don't know if they're stuck on lands or not, but that'll keep them off of Blood Moon this turn if they have it. Okay, opponent gets in for 1. No land, no land. Yeah. All right, we're just gonna name this one human. Human's a really good name against them. Uh, so we do know about the fervent champion and also the ranger captain of Eos. So we name human. Boom. Took care of that one. Okay, so they do have the white. If they Blood Moon here, though, they no longer have white, but it definitely, Blood Moon definitely hurts us way more than it hurts them, so hopefully we draw Swamp next turn. Or even better, okay, so they do. So they do Wear Tear. Wear Tear makes me think maybe they sideboarded out their Blood Moon. Which, seeing that I'm a mono black deck, would probably be like my first instinct too, if I was the opponent. To think, well, we don't, like, if they're mono black, like Blood Moon's not great against them. But Blood Moon is, in fact, pretty good against us. We do get punished by running a lot of utility lands. Now, it's not busted against us, but it does show you how good fetches are. That I think decks with fetch lands tend to do better against Blood Moon than how we are doing even. So they're going to get rid of the Plague Engineer. That's fine. They must have a human they want to play. They do. Wow, so Plague Engineer on human against them is exceptionally good. Well, we really, really, really would like a land, specifically black land. Oh, we got it too. Oh, the value. All right, they're in a bit of trouble. This is tempting now. Like it is tempting to just like start ticking this thing up, but I'm not going to be greedy. We're just going to tick it down. Take care of what we can take care of. I don't think they have another creature threat because I don't think they would have evoked the solitude like that aggressively if they did. So happy about that thus far. The best case scenario here would be just no spells by our opponent. Perfect. And a land for us would finish it off. Awesome. So each player discards a card. Let's get rid of some of their hand. So the prismatic ending. It is odd to see prismatic ending in a deck that. And earlier, I did misspeak earlier. If you've already typed it in the comments, don't worry about it. Prismatic ending cannot hit Tourach. I said earlier that prismatic ending could for 2. Obviously, that's not correct. I wasn't thinking about it fully. Just gonna play our Karn Sign of Urza here. Create a little dinker. Really, the 1 mana creature human, the Fervent Champion, would be their best draw here. Okay, so Blood Moon. That's a little bit too late. Okay, so that's probably the game. We're not going to bother upticking Liliana. We'll just downtick Karn again, play this. We have this huge march ready if we need it. And we are presenting lethal next turn, is that correct? We got one more turn. Oh, now we're presenting lethal. If they don't play anything out, we are. Okay, yeah. Because if they don't play anything out, then we can just uptick Liliana. Tourach gets bigger, and then they're dead. But all right, 3-1. Playing for the 4-1. Not a bad league tonight. There's been quite a bit of downtime in between matches. I think that weirdly enough, I do think that we would be about 3-1 even with a more typical version of the rack. So that's something to keep in mind. We've really not played a lot of the meta. Definitely mulliganing this hand. This hand is not much better, but it is better. It's better than most 5-card hands, so we'll go with it. Depending on the matchup, it could be really good too. So, okay, so 3 Cigar Aid and a Stoneforge Mystic and a Cauldron Complete. Well, that's not too hard of one. Cigar Aid, really, after the first one, like that doesn't. It's like exactly the first one is any good, right? That's kind of the whole thing. Okay, well, instead of playing Tourach, I'm gonna try to hit the. I'm gonna get a little bit. I don't even know if greedy's the right word, but I know that Relic is not particularly going to be good against them. They'll let me cycle it to try to hit something that might be good. Okay, Plague Engineer is good. Okay, so now we can do Plague Engineer on Construct. Oh, no, can we? That's tough. Um, Plague Engineer on Construct doesn't really do anything, does it? Let's hold off on the Plague Engineer one turn. We'll ditch a Relic here. Okay. Hopefully our opponent, I was gonna say, hopefully they don't hit the third land, but they do. Well, now we do. Now we do want to name it on Construct, ironically. So we will just go ahead and discard this swamp to keep our Tourach around. This does this does okay work. This makes their first construct able to trade with our Plague Engineer in combat. I mean, anytime this card gets more than its self worth of value and it has Death Touch, it's just a good Magic card. Underplayed Magic card for sure. For sure underplayed. But there's not a tremendous amount of homes for it. If they have Pithing Needle, I can't imagine them not getting Pithing Needle for Liliana here. That seems to be correct to me. They'll probably get a Colossus Hammer. I doubt they have a Pithing Needle in their main deck. Shadow Spear also wouldn't be bad. The thing with Shadow Spear, though, is I can still block it die. Okay, so they just took Ginger Brute. That's fine. Okay, so Ginger Brute can't be blocked except by creatures with haste. That's all right. As attacking Liliana. Yeah, that's fine. Just a land here would be fine. Okay, so we'll make them sack. We'll see what they sack here. They just sack one of their construct tokens. Cool. We'll cast a Tourach with the intention of blocking the construct if we are given the chance. I doubt we're given the chance. So Liliana of the Veil being attacked. Can't really do anything about that. So don't have anything with haste. Okay. So we're gonna play a rack. Oh God. Let's just play the second Liliana. We've gotten some pretty good value here out of these lilies. We'll lose this Liliana no matter what we do, so we might as well get in. All right. See what our opponent's got. You could say that there's an argument maybe for holding back one creature just to make them spend the extra mana, but okay, I like holding up our options here. I think we have a few different options that we could pull off in combat. Maybe cheaply kill a creature or something. Opponent does take 2. Hopefully our opponent will think of us more as a traditional rack deck, so guessing Colossus Hammer. So Colossus Hammer, perfect. Okay, so now we can kill this thing in response to that. If they drew Metallic Rebuke here, that's rough. Guess Blossoming Calm is a card that they could have. So if they go Metallic Rebuke, they could just go. Okay, I'm guessing they don't have Metallic Rebuke because they would just go 1, 2, 3, right? Okay, yeah, they're just floating the mana. Got it. Okay, so Pure Steel Paladin. That does give their creatures equip 0. We do have the Plague Engineer that has Death Touch at least, so. Oh, wow. Okay, so now we can Pithing Needle on Colossus Hammer. And so after the Pithing Needle gets, or after this creature attacks, we now are in a position where we can. I'd be shocked if they attack. Okay, they do in fact choose not to attack. Okay, that's a pretty good draw. That's one of those where like, okay, Castle Lochtwain. I'll have one of those every once in a while, and I'm like, you can stay in the deck, I guess, man. Really, we want to keep fading Shadow Spear. I think if they had gotten Shadow Spear like 6 turns ago, I think they would have won. But here we are. We'll take 1 from our Castle Lochtwain. Go ahead and get an extra card. Oh, that's great. I mean, it's not particularly great against them. Okay. Oh, this is tough. I think we do Wrench Mine so that we can hold up an extra blocker, though. Yep, they just get rid of the Ornithopter. I figured they would have. That's why Wrench Mine. I think I've talked about this before. Why Wrench Mine was so bad for so long was because this deck was like the primary culprit. Like just being able to discard 1 Ornithopter when you know that like your opponent has effects like this is just so bad. Okay, Giver of Runes. Giver of Runes is a way for them to win. That's for certain. Okay, well, now we're going to get real fancy. So, Plague Engineer. Uh, let's actually do Core. I think Stoneforge Mystic is a Core. And that just keeps us. Okay, so they do kind of have the nuts here. That's okay. I mean, they're not in great shape though. Like they could die. It's not likely, but it's possible. Okay, well there it is. Never mind. Okay. I don't think there's any world where we beat the Shadow Spear, period. So that was like the one card they had to draw for like most of that game. They got us. They got us. Needle in, all 4 relics out. That's the easy one. Um, March is definitely. I don't think we want Sudden Edict. We definitely want to get rid of the Wrench Mines if we can. In favor for probably Collective Brutalities and 1 Sudden Edict. We'll run it like that. Wrenchmine's just always going to hit an artifact in this matchup, especially now that they've seen it. They're going to be holding cards like Ornithopter in their hand. But yeah, this is not a horrible matchup, not the best either. That was an entertaining game, at least for me to play. So hope it was for you to watch. The few of you that are still around. Like I get it is extremely difficult to sit down and watch like a 2 hour league and someone play Magic for this long. So like I definitely don't expect everyone to watch every bit of gameplay. I won't be able to myself. But for those of you that can, or those of you that skipped ahead and enjoyed maybe different parts of the gameplay, I'm glad that you're here. And I hope that you keep watching. Hope that I can finish out strong for you all. I'll already this has been good gameplay. I'll sometimes with 3-2s or even like 4-1s if I record. Sometimes if the gameplay is just horrible, I won't post it. So this one I think already, and I don't mean like just if I misplay, like if it's horribly boring, if I'm not very eloquent talking, or if I'm kind of like absent-mindedly speaking. Opponent mulligans to 5. That is a good sign for us with this hand, so we will definitely take a mull to 5 all day, every day. Inquisition. All right. Well, we're gonna take. I guess we're gonna take the Stoneforge Mystic. It's hard not to take the Giver of Runes there because it's a turn 1 play. Scartizade we definitely don't care about. Like it's mostly a dead card. Like it's just like it's half of a combo that if it goes off, good for it. But okay, so we have the Wombo combo officially of Plague Engineer and Funeral Charm, the 2 CMC Annihilating Machine. Okay, so that's new. Plague Engineer will be naming probably, I'll say probably Phyrexian, but maybe not. I am pretty shocked that they did not. Okay, so they are getting in here. That they didn't go ahead and play the Inkmoth Nexus out. Let's see. I'm going to make them discard a card. And we may just get them Hellbent this turn, depending on what we have going on. Okay, so they get rid of the Blacksmith skill. Awesome. Yeah, I think it's correct to just get them Hellbent here. I am going to wait one more turn to play this Saga. Maybe that's wrong. Especially since I just drew the second one. That's probably wrong. Where I just drew the second one, but okay, so Stoneforge Mystic. I'll just be ticking this up again, probably. I think they probably know that, though. Okay. I do like that attack from them. It is tempting to just kind of sit back on your haunches, but okay, so this is even better now. We will name Giver of Runes with this one. So name the Giver of Runes. I do think it's correct to name Core. Okay, so we're in pretty good shape. The Giver of Runes basically does nothing. Stoneforge Mystic, if they top deck a Cauldra, is pretty good. But outside of that, it does. Okay, so they just go ahead and concede. Awesome. Opponent saving us some time. I don't think they were out of that game, but definitely was not looking good for them. Okay, another decent hand. And so I would really like to draw a 1 mana spell. this turn, especially being on the draw. But Tourach being able to stonewall a white creature makes this hand keepable with double Plague Engineer. Because that's when we get into like the really fun stuff of like naming core with both of them, because these things do stack. Plague Engineer has looked like an all-star this league. If you are not running it right now, I still recommend maybe consider it. Maybe consider it. All right, we do have the 1-drop. That's good. So we'll be able to kill whatever this 2-drop is, probably. They might just be on Urza's Saga train. All right, so let's see what they get. Not going to give them any information if we can help it. Not that it... I kind of don't want to blow this Fatal Push on the Stoneforge Mystic, but I think it's the right move still. Just going to play the Tourach here. Next turn, we will Plague Engineer on Construct, most likely. Okay, that's good. There's no other artifact in play, so if they make a Construct token, it'll just die, so that's good for us. Once again, just Plague Engineer being an absolute beating. Go ahead and get in there. We'll try to start killing them quickly if we can. Fantastic, fantastic. A Ginger Brute, okay. Naming food or golem would have been good here. Okay, whew. So this is why saving that Fatal Push was relevant, but here we are. Oh, that's exactly lethal. Oh well. I wouldn't have held up the Fatal Push this turn anyway, where they have double hammer, so they did just get me. That's fine. Well, I can tell you that at the beginning of this turn, I was not expecting to die. Well, that does it for that league. In retrospect, yeah, that game, I don't think the only thing that I would have taken back maybe is not Fatal Pushing the Stoneforge Mystic, but I would have played everything else the exact same way to keep them from going off the construct tokens. So no regrets that league. 3-2 is not great, but we'll take it. I mean, it's some fun content. I actually like this deck list quite a lot. I might make another video on this list in particular. I'll definitely be playing it more. I'll probably make one with the list that I wanted to or intended to make originally before I had submitted my deck list. So, anyway, guys, thank you all. I've taken up enough of your time. You all have a great day, night, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and keep racking.